Hi, it's Helen Tarrant. Welcome to another episode of Commercial Property Roadshow. You're here with Helen Tarrant, and today I'm actually going to talk about buying pubs, motels, hotels. I get a lot of questions about whether I should be buying into a motel or a hotel, and just like questions about buying childcare or petrol station, what should I be looking for? Now, there's many ways when you're looking at a hotel to assess whether the hotel's worth that value. Namely, you will get a valuation, and that's going to work out the value of that property. But the hotel motel business is actually surrounded by, there is actually a business inside the property. So you as the purchaser is not only looking at potentially buying the property, but also looking at taking on board the business as well. Now you might be thinking, well, I don't actually want to run a hotel or motel. So one of the things that you have to do as part of your due diligence is actually to check who is running that motel hotel. And are they running it well? Is there a liquor license with that? Is there gaming with it? Is there hotel rooms with it? As well as bar and bistro. So there's many different factors. So sometimes you can buy a motel or a hotel and they can only be the accommodation. And then therefore it's all about the lease. But then you could also buy a hotel that has a food dining area, have a liquor license, maybe also have some gaming, and maybe also have rooms, or they could be a combination of those. So it really depends on the type of property you are looking at or looking to buy into the future, to hold into the future, to see what exactly and how to define the value and also the lease on the property. So you could be getting one lease. So one lease to lease out the whole premise. Say you've got an operator who's operating all 5 functions of the property, and he's giving you a lease of $100,000 or $200,000 for the property, and you go out to the market and you find a yield for that property, just like any other commercial property. You define the yield whether you're buying at 7%, 8%, or 9%. And that's why you would buy that property based on the return and based on the long lease, based on the operator. Now, one of the things about hotels and motels is that it's very business dependent. So if your operator ceases to work in there or leaves or have a change of management, and that's within their rights because you as the landlord is not going to go in there and run a hotel motel business. So obviously what you would like to do is to make sure that the management is actually there for the long term. So if you have a business for the next 5, 10, or 15 years, and that's on the lease, you want to make sure the business is going to be operational during the next 5, 10, or 15 years. And then you've got a good management team in place, good succession plan, and if they were to leave, these are the things they're going to go through to make sure they find someone to replace them. So obviously you actually need to make sure that's in place, and that's a key to your due diligence. Now, how is a motel or hotel valued? Now, there's this thing called an EBITDA, which is, before, your, it's basically your gross profit of the property. So it's basically the profit or the revenue before any amortization and depreciation, any tax, any of the outgoings or expenses is put through the property. It's that gross figure before all of that breakdown of what that property is turning over. So we're looking at that as a benchmark. We're also looking obviously at the profit margin as well as, and then we're looking at how to value that based on either the property as a gross or as the net, depending on how your value is looking at it, and depending on the figures that's been put through, and depending on obviously what's trading where and how long it's been trading as well. Now, these are some of the things that your bank is also going to be looking at when they're looking at a property. But also remember that hotels and motels are also specialized lending. So the bank at most will probably give you only 55% lend on something like this. So for you, you need to come up with a larger deposit. But the benefit of buying a hotel motel is obviously if it's got good management, is never going to have a problem paying the rent. If it's in a good area, the value of the property will grow and the land value will grow. If it's in even a regional area, the gentrification over time will push the value of the property up as well, because it's usually on significant land as well. Later on, if the tenant decides to move out and you decide that you want to do something else with the building, you can repurpose the building, although it won't be as easy as just any other building that you get in commercial, but you can definitely reposition and repurpose the building. When I say reposition, I mean like you could potentially get another management team in there. You could potentially look at getting someone else to manage the housekeeping and rooms if you did have rooms in the property, and also get someone else to manage the actual bistro and everything else. So that is if you have a property that has all of those things. So, and of course, don't forget, if you do have gaming, there is also, you've got licenses and rights and stuff you have to buy as well. So it's a complicated process and you have to put it together. But ultimately, what your benefit is the long set and forget lease. So most of the time, these tenants will pay for rental increases, they'll pay for all the outgoings, and it'll become more of a triple net lease, what we call triple net lease, which means that the tenant pays for absolutely all the outgoings, maintenance, land tax, etc. So the tenant actually pays for absolutely everything. So you've got nothing to do, and it becomes ultimately a set and forget property, and you reap the benefits of a really, really long lease, which is why people want to buy a hotel and pub. And if they have really, really good management, the property will continue to grow and make money, and therefore you can continue to put the rents up, and as the area gentrify, the rents will go up. So it leads to long-term hold, value increase, and then being able to retire on just 1 or 2 commercial properties. So that's why people invest in pubs and clubs and also hotels. So, but when you do that, make sure there is several pieces to put together. Make sure you dig down into the financials of the property, because you need to make sure it's doing the turnover to be able to support your rent, unlike anything else, because it is very operator driven. So just be really careful with that. Make sure you check out and go and visit the property. Make sure you try out the food. Make sure you stay at the property. Make sure you check out the area to see where the competition is. Really do your due diligence and understand that it is a 50 or 55% LVR because it's a specialist lend. But if you do have a reliable operator in there and you do have a good management team, that business should survive in a long time into the future. So it's got a lot less risk of going bust compared to, a shoe shop or any of the other properties that you might be looking at in terms of a retail space or a restaurant. So because it's got multifacets to it as well. So make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you understand how pubs and clubs work. Know that it is specialist. That is a specialist lend, and go out there and find the right consultants, talk to the right people. Make sure you look at the financials of the actual pub business and look at the valuations to make sure that it's valued right, and then off you go. You can definitely be the owner of a hotel or a pub or a club. So if you need more information, reach out to Helen at helentarrant.com or email me at Helen at Commercial Property Cashflow, and I look forward to helping you in your commercial property journey. Bye for now.